All right. Hello and welcome to another Expert Inside interview. My name is John Golden from Sales Pop, online sales magazine, and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from a sunny San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined by DonCapener, who is in Salt Lake City in Utah. How you doing, Don?
Good, good. How are you?
Excellent. And Don, as you see, Dr. Don, PhD, is the Chief Strategist and Culture Officer at Chang Robotics, where he blends cutting edge automation with human centered leadership. Focusing on the design, install, enhance roadmap, he guides organizations in transition to AI and robotics while emphasizing people, strategies, diversity, and give to give philosophy rooted in biblical principles. And his work ensures innovation empowers workers, bridging technical ROI with cultural resistance in manufacturing and supply chains. So, Don, the first question is like when you're talking about AI and you're talking about robotics and tell me how with your design, install, enhance robot, how do you prioritize the human element? Because it sounds like it's all technology.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. This is about working with people and
Mm,
for people and doing things for organizations that are made up of people. This is not about replacing their jobs. This is about enhancing productivity. And in the case of several of our largest installations, we work with nurses, we work with people on the factory floor, we
mhm,
work with folks in various different industries to enhance their work experience and maybe do less of the repetitive and
mhm.
even dangerous work that's done by individuals.
Yeah. And then how do you, if, for instance, to say if you're bringing something, to a factory floor, right, and you're bringing a robot or something that's going to work alongside, how do you ensure that before you even put the robot on the factory floor, that you have prepared the people for it, and that there's not going to be a people resistance to it?
Most of the time, we start with a feasibility
Mhm.
analysis where we bring all the key decision makers in and talk about what they need from the system, how the system will work, and most importantly, how we'll ramp up I'll call it the integration,
Mhm.
because there's always a transition between how you're doing things now
Yeah.
and automating it. And so that transition is critical to that human element you're talking about, which is getting people to not just accept it, but enjoy it. And by the time at a leading healthcare institution here in the U.S., by the time we finished a 1-year process, 94% of nurses said, "I don't know what we did before we had these cobots to help us deliver things to rooms and make the distribution of the stuff they need so much easier."
Yeah, and I think, Don, maybe you'd agree or disagree, but it seems to me that we just have done a very poor job overall with AI and robotics and all that in how it's been kind of messaged out, or how it's been allowed to, the narratives get out there, go, oh, AI, everybody's job's gone, like robots going to replace everybody. And instead of, as what you're saying right now is saying, no, this is another great enhancement to your life, productivity enhancement, like all the other ones that we've witnessed. Certainly, in my lifetime, being a pre-internet person, I mean, the amount of innovation I've seen in my life has been incredible.
Yeah, it truly is. So in the case I was telling you, what nurses say is, this is why I went into nursing. I'm
Mm.
focused more now on patient care than I've ever been.
Yeah, no, I'm just writing that down because I think that applies not just for nursing. We deal a lot with salespeople, and people are going to be replaced by AI. And it's going,
Yeah.
no, it's going to allow you to get back to doing what you actually got into sales to do in the first place, and that's build human relationships and create value. Um, Send me a little bit though. How drawing from your give to give philosophy, what can leaders do when they are starting to introduce automation or starting to introduce AI, and that just to get everybody to kind of coalesce around it?
Number one is being good at communicating the purpose and the objective.
Mhm.
I'm sure, the Start With Why book has been talked about and famous. Simon Sinek
Hmm.
is the author of that. But the principle is a good one, which is start with why we're doing this. We're doing this to enhance your experience as a contributor to our team. It's going to help our customers. It's going to help us do what we do best, as you just mentioned. In the sales area, it would be, rather than some of the stuff that may drag you down, reports and other things that could be automated, that as it's easier for you to do, you spend more time adding value and talking to the folks who matter the most and become the most important part of how 2026 becomes a great year.
No, no, absolutely. And you also mentioned about diversity. How does diversity help when you're rolling out new initiatives and looking to get acceptance? How does that help the process?
It helps because everyone sees their job, the work environment, and even the culture of the organization differently than you do. And
Mhm.
it's because we grow up with these metaphoric lenses by which, our family, our environment, all these things shape that. And as we have different lenses by which we look at things, we actually see things differently. It's like seeing different colors
Mhm.
in the color spectrum. You're seeing things in a way maybe that you hadn't seen them before, or at least being open to those other opinions and thoughts. So it's very inclusive process. The thing that's great about when technology is done right and industrial automation and I'll call it efficiency,
Mhm.
it helps people of all cultures, and actually it to a large extent, the people who for one reason or another maybe feel like they didn't belong, technology can actually make it where it's a more friendly environment
Yeah.
for everyone. And again, by reducing those repetitive tasks and a lot of times the kind of interaction that has to happen in a more traditional kind of setting.
Yeah, no, and absolutely, absolutely. Because I mean, obviously, when you start to take away a lot of that repetitive work or work that can be automated or can be roboticized or whatever, it should allow people to feel a little bit more, as you said, they can focus on more high value work, but just a little bit more, I would say, content in their work because you've taken away this other stuff that, frankly, nobody loves.
Yeah, it's let's bring the human element. It's it's
Mhm.
it's counterintuitive because you hear about robots and all of a sudden you imagine a world that is
Yeah,
very dark.
yeah,
It's very the sense of that robots will go unhinged, and Schwarzenegger will come out, and all of
uh,
a sudden, we have uh, an ugly paradigm that nobody wants. The opposite of that is a more human element where the automation is sort of behind the scenes and not,
mm,
one of the areas we're automating is meat packing.
right, right.
And that's not an environment that is really easy to navigate as a human. It has to be very, very, very cold. The
Mhm.
cutting has to be very, very precise. I could go on, but it's 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 it's
Yeah, so
really
so
great
there
environment for automation.
that's what I was gonna say. I mean, so there are these ones where they just lend themselves to it, and they're not really, they never really lent themselves to humans in the first place. What are some other what are some examples that you've seen of when you other examples like you mentioned in the healthcare that was really
Mhm.
good. You know, the nurses with the robots bringing stuff along. What are some other examples of humans and robots working together?
So, one of the greatest examples is being able to help uh, automate something that then is so efficient that more people can work in areas that are, I'll call it, customer focused.
Hmm.
And that's mostly what we're seeing in the manufacturing area. We start a lot of times with again, that feasibility study to say, how can we make this a factory of the future, a factory that not only produces great, clean, energy efficient products, but the working experience is enhanced. And
Mm.
so one of our biggest installations was with a large beverage manufacturer that their employee satisfaction and the culture and the environment has just improved dramatically as a result of this new installation. And it's something it's been in for 2 years now, so
Mm.
it's not brand new. But we're looking at all kinds of different areas, rare earth materials, reshoring, coming back.
Mhm.
You've heard the from both POTUS and other areas about the focus on
Yeah.
reshoring. Well, we're working with a lot of those companies to design the factory of the future that will make working and the ultimate product a better experience for everybody.
Yeah, and I guess as you said, I mean, part of it is like letting people understand what the benefit of it is, and then obviously the training and rollout part is obviously critical that you get that part right because I mean, forget robotics or even AI for the moment. I mean, you just go back technology in general. People are terrible at rolling out products oftentimes, and that causes a lot of problems that then need to be mitigated later. How do you ensure? I mean, how important is that rollout phase and making sure that you get the training and all of that correct?
Well, one more thing I was going to say that
Yeah,
addresses this is that generative AI should be your co-pilot, not your autopilot.
yeah, yep.
We use it like say for heavy lifting, okay? Researching prospects, drafting initial frameworks,
Hmm.
analyzing data that then you will provide that last look and the insights
Yeah,
that only humans can provide. This frees up, in the case of a salesperson, to do what AI can't, build empathy and trust and become more than a vendor. You
no,
become
absolutely.
that trusted person that they call when they have a problem. Hey, this isn't your product, but I'm having this problem. You want to be that salesperson or that business development person. That human focus actually can be really inspirational.
Hmm. Yeah, I think because I think people, some people are still struggling with that co-pilot concept, which seems like it's a very obvious one, but some people still struggle with it because they're still using AI, and it doesn't matter what model you're using, they're still using it as a Google search, right? So they're still going and instead of putting in their Google search, they're putting it in an AI and they're looking at the first answer that comes up and they're reviewing it and whatever, and not realizing that that you're in a different world now. And if you're going to treat it as a real co-pilot, you almost have to treat it like another person. And that's kind of how I treat the tools I use.
Mhm.
I spend as much time now communicating with one model or another as I'm doing something and going into dialogue and recalling other stuff and all of this stuff that and it really feels like collaborative work. And I think a lot of people are missing that right now. They're still missing that part.
John, you talk about how you work to create very clear and in some cases detailed
Oh
prompts,
yeah.
almost like you are communicating with someone you work with,
Yeah.
and I think that
And
approach.
oftentimes somebody, and to be honest, somebody way smarter than me.
Yeah, there you go. I feel that same way. I was joined at Chang Robotics with our chief technology officer, Dr. Tim Way, who's the
Mm,
former dean of the School of Engineering at the University of Nebraska's flagship.
yeah.
Okay, and he's a smart guy, but he says the same thing. Both of us that we're he brings this technical vision, but the value of how we prompt things and provide AI with um, the information that we already know or we already
Mhm.
believe the data that we have tested, then it actually improves it. And, in robotics, high performance isn't just about speed, it's
Right.
about precision and psychological safety.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. So talk to me a little bit about the safety end, because that's got to be huge, particularly with robotics and in a lot of those places. It's obviously going to enhance a lot of the safety and maybe remove some of the, the issues of the past.
For sure. You can't innovate if people are afraid that either the robotics are going to break things or they, in conjunction with the robots,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
are going to, you know. And so a lot of the factories we're designing now have no conveyor belts. You can't believe it, right? I
Mhm.
mean, they have open lanes and moving. It's an amazing thing. And we build a culture where failure is treated as data, not a disaster.
Right, right, right.
So, and that's key. And when you remove the fear of making a few mistakes and learning from those, making those adjustments, you unlock the kind of radical creativity required to lead in a field as demanding as automation.
Yeah, no, it is amazing, and it is so, but it's so exciting at the same time, right? I mean, do you think about some people look at it as upheaval, and other people look at it as like I said, this is a phenomenal opportunity. Um, uh, are you seeing a lot of people now coming into this field? Are you seeing like a lot of young people in that, like going like into the robotics field or into the AI field?
Definitely. The idea of supply chain is connected directly to some of the things that we're talking about. And then, I've been in academia a good part of my career,
Mhm.
and our goal there is to make the complex understandable. Well, these young people have grown up with technology all around them,
Right.
and the sense of how to enhance what they do, make it more efficient, is almost natural
Hmm.
for a lot of these young people. I've been a dean at 3 different institutions of business, and it's taught me to mentor our engineers and project managers as kind of like educators. Because
Right.
if a customer can't intuitively understand how our robots and our automation can solve their problems, then actually our technology then has failed, because no
Hmm.
matter how brilliant it is, it needs to make sense to the stakeholders.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so, it's these young people, they're a lot of this is natural for them in a way that, maybe a sport for some person is
Mhm.
natural, or maybe music
Yeah,
is
no,
natural.
absolutely. I think one of the amazing thing, Don, I was talking about this to somebody else recently, but they don't see insurmountable obstacles. They don't see barriers. They all see like we should be able to do this, or it should work like that, or whatever. We grew up in a different time when we knew there were real barriers to things, and there were things that you couldn't do. Like it was just you just had to accept. They don't have that mentality anymore, so it allows them to be more expansive, I think, in their thinking.
Oh, for sure. And, I went through, prior to my academic experience, I went through an IPO with NetCentives, which was distributing the first digital currency over the
Mm.
web. It was airline miles.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, it's easy to confuse sort of a rising tide with, what is really, somewhat confusing, and the internet, e-commerce space wasn't ready
Hmm.
when this company NetCentives was born, and sort of came into its own. So we had to do a complete pivot and use those miles for employee benefits, employee bonuses.
Right.
And before the IRS caught on, they were great incentives and very cost effective.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
but
Yeah. Well,
yeah, and from that experience, I know that those issues, that's exactly what you said, John. Those young people see this as, this should work. And if it doesn't work, it isn't that, oh, it's not going to work. It's, we're
exactly.
going to figure it out, and we're going to pivot in ways that we're going to make this work, and we're going to make this a success.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I believe that. And the IRS are wonderful people. That's all I want to say. I want to put that on record coming up to tax season.
Wonderful, yeah, yeah. Wonderful, but at the same time, they know how to find value
Yeah,
and, and
absolutely.
where taxes are due, we pay our taxes, right?
We sure do. Just before we finish, what are some exciting innovations, or where's your company going next?
There are some this 2026, we are planning to create a factory for the future for
Wow.
a client we're gonna announce here that's part of sort of this reshoring of America and also bringing back rare earth materials
Mm-hmm.
and the mining of that and
Bingo.
manufacturing of
Mm-hmm.
that. And we're right at the center of that. We're also already announced that we're part both of in investment and engineering of a border system between Mexico and Monterrey, Mexico, and Laredo, Texas, that will automate the process of bringing goods and services
Wow.
from both sides of the border without the kind of human checkpoints and
Mm-hmm.
all that's
Wow.
happened that has that goes on now. So inefficient, right? We're
Yeah.
hearing about that so much. So anyway,
Excellent. Wow, that's fantastic. Well, listen, Don, this has been really interesting. All of Don's information will be below this video. Before we go, please do remind people about you and what you do.
yeah. So I'm the chief strategist for Chang Robotics, and I also am an international business professor at Utah Valley University. So it's a it's a great opportunity to see a company really change enterprise and mid-sized businesses and the opportunities going forward with industrial AI. It's a way
Mhm.
to invest in AI that then immediately returns back a sizable margin for our clients. And we invest in IP also, so it's
Yeah.
unusual for
Yeah.
an engineering services company to develop intellectual property and be kind of develop a new model. It's been so exciting. I'm so
Yeah.
excited about this next year.
Fantastic. Well, listen, we'll keep our eye out for sure. So, listen, thank you, Don. Thank you for watching and listening, and I will see you all again very soon. Thank you.